So I have one thing I have to just remember. I don't want to forget it.
Go.
So Hill and I, we met in college at the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The one thinking back to my
Roll Tide.
yeah.
Oh God! with the Georgia Cup turned backwards.
I don't care. So it's all good.
But going back through my memory, like the one time I can think of that we first actually hung out for more than 10 minutes was at a Keith Urban concert at Lakewood Amphitheater.
Yeah, Lakewood in Atlanta.
In Atlanta. And
he was one of my favorites.
And mine too, growing up. And so when Monroe first told me about you, Monroe obviously knew who my inspiration was growing up. And so, of course, he threw in Keith Urban. And that was I was like, Mark Hill, Keith Urban, like, what the heck? That's all I knew. I was like, okay, he played bass, Keith Urban. But I didn't know at the time that you also were the band director.
Yeah, that was my first one, too.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like Keith Urban is still an inspiration of mine. Like, can you tell us how you kind of got through that? I'm sure there's going to be some listeners that would love to hear that, too.
Well, so the call came from, take a guess?
Jimmy.
Yeah. He got me the job. You know,
That's awesome.
He was offered the job.
Okay.
And I supported that. I was like, dude, this is he played on all the records, you know? And he took me out to lunch one day. He says, I want you to do the Keith gig. He said, there's a girl that's opening up named Katrina Elam, and she fizzled out of the music industry, but he was producing her records at the time. Jimmy was. And he wanted to play for her and kind of keep nurturing that. So Jimmy and I were going to be on the road together, but I'm in the band, I'm in the headlining act, and he's in the opening act. I'm like, this is not right, man. You know, it's like, this can't be right. And he's like, dude, it's cool. I said, why don't you take the Keith gig? I'll play for Katrina. So, you know, you're still around her. He's like, you take the Keith gig. I turned it down 3 or 4 times because I was sessioning really hard too, you know, and I, you know, it's tough. The mix of live and sessions, it's better now, but back in that day, if a busy session player took a live gig, there was a bit of a penalty box that comes with that.
Like where you get back and you don't get scheduled?
Yeah, and people just hear, you know, the rumor mill goes, and it's like, oh, he's touring with Keith.
He's on the road now.
He's out on the road. Guy. Let's call this guy. So you just get overlooked. It's one of the reasons I don't do any social media, you know, because I don't want people to know what I'm doing.
Got it.
You know, if somebody calls me and I'm out, I don't tour anymore, but when I did, if I was out on the road, somebody's like, hey, I need you for 2 days of masters. Like, man, I'm already booked.
Yeah.
I never told them what I was booked on. You know, the fact was I was out on the road and I couldn't do it. You know, I didn't tell them that. You know, and I don't post anything on social, so they don't know I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's super important. You know, everybody's again, it's the instant. I'm at Kroger. I'm touring. This is my office for the day, or what? All that shit. You know, it's like,
nah.
I'm hard good. Pass on that. Hard pass on that. But so Jimmy called. So I ended up taking it. The caveat from management, everybody, was this was a clean tour. They were calling me because I was a clean, you know, Keith had just got out of rehab.
Yeah.
And they wanted a clean tour. And I had to put together a clean band. And I had this amount of money to work with. And Keith wanted to really notch it up, you know. And so it was very stressful. I mean, I even had one person call me at one point and say, hey, if you're out there with Keith and he launches out for some brown liquor, you need to stop him. And I was like, that ain't my gig, man. That's too much
responsibility.
Yeah, it's not what I want to do. So, and I think he was clean on that tour. You know, I don't think it was a clean tour, but you know, farm boy, you know, I was to me, you know.
Right.
So, but it was fun. I do know that it was the band crushed it.
So on a high profile tour like that, what goes into being band leader? You know.
Yeah, band leader. It's a lot of organizational skills. You know, it's like I was one of the first guys that, you know, we were using iCal, and that was when they started where you could publish the calendar, right? So
big technological advancement.
Yes, it was huge. You know, so I emailed the whole band the subscriptions out to the Keith Urban band iCal. You know, and I said bus call times, rehearsal times. Everything's going to be on here. If you miss it, it's on you. So refresh, you know, it's whatever you have to do to refresh your iCal. I think you had to manually refresh at that point or something. You know, it's there. You know, so I was one of the first guys that did that, and it was pretty cool. You know, obviously helping Keith with set lists, but hey, you guys are artists. I mean, you know how that's going to go. It's like, hey Keith, why don't we do this right here? That's crazy, mate. You know, no, that sounds like ass. That was a common one, and you know, I remember sitting on the bus with him one time, and early in the tour, you know, we just probably done 2 or 3 shows, and I was on his bus. We were talking about the set list. It wasn't right yet. And it was in the fall of the year, so it already gotten dark outside. So we're sitting there, and he's pen in hand working on the set list. And I'm like, "What do we put this there? And I just happened to glance out the window, and it's you know the movie Field of Dreams with the cars. Mm-hmm. That's what it looked like coming to see him. Mm. And I'm just looking out the window, and he's like, "Well, what do we put there?" And I said, "Hey Keith, check it out." Mm. I said,
"I don't think it matters."
No, they're coming here to see you.
Oh yeah.
And I was just, it was a moment for me. I was like, what does that feel like? And he's just like, oh, mate, I don't want to think about it. What about if we put this on? You know, he's just right back to it, you know.
Right.
But I'm just looking out the window, this line of cars coming around the bend, you know, to come see him play. You know, it's like, pretty cool. Now, so it was a lot of that stuff. You know, it was organization, making sure the band, you know, knows what sound check times are, when's catering, you know, all that stuff. Charts early, background vocals, who's singing this, who's singing that, you know.
Yeah. So, insider question, I should know this, but did Jerry Flowers was around during the ranch, right?
Yeah.
So did he do all the recording, and you were...
No, Jimmy Lee did all the recording.
Okay.
Or most of it. I think Glenn Wolf was on some of the early stuff, bass-wise. But so Jerry was in the ranch with him. I don't know how that disbanded, but then Keith wound up with another band.
Yeah,
you know. And
he's gone through a couple of evolutions.
Of course. And you know what, man? I get that.
Yeah,
I totally get that. I think it's a good way to freshen things up. I think people should do that.
I do too. Yeah.
But Jerry Flowers came back when I left, and he was there for 20 years.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a freaking career.
Yeah.
You know.
Now he's writing songs.
And he's always written songs. And he and I are good pals. In fact, he and I and Sloas and Chris McHugh went to dinner before Christmas just to hang out.
That's great.
And it's just... talk about old times and what's going on with you, you know, what you're doing these days. So, but the band Keith had, you know, I don't know if they used, I don't, all I know is my phone rang.
Right.
Put a band together, and these guys are going. And I felt bad for those guys, but that wasn't really my call. Mm-hmm. You know, I just said, okay, here's my price. That's where I started. You know, here's my price to be band leader. This will be interesting. This is some good insider information. Keith will never remember this, but so the girl called me, the business people, you know, and she said, "So what are you thinking? You know, I had said I would do it. Now we're going to talk business, you know."
Right.
And proof that even in the music business, you have to negotiate. You know, you have to be there. So I hit her with my price, and
I play the bass a hell of a lot better than that.
Right. I am worth so much more than that. So she said, okay, yeah, I'll run that, you know, up the flagpole. 2 or 3 days go by, and I'm at dinner with a buddy of mine. I remember where I was, Go 10 on West End, this Japanese place. We were sitting at the whatever.
Hibachi?
Yeah, that. It's very racial. Whatever.
Oh, man.
Cut that out. And my phone rang. Of course, back then it was just it was before smartphones and shit. But it said Keith. You just said his name, and I was like, "Oh, it's Keith Urban calling." I grab it, and he is screaming at me, just like, "What are you thinking, mate? What are these numbers you're throwing around?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. That's what I make in town. So if you want me to go leave that, and you said you wanted the best band in Nashville, I'm going to do that for you. But you got to pay for it. That's just the way it is." Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Mate, this is not going to work." And I hung up. I mean, it was like, okay, I'm so sorry. I can't. So I left, you know, and I sat back down with my buddy. I was like, man, I'm not doing the tour. It just didn't work out, you know. So it was over for me. I got home, told my wife. She was like, oh, she loved Keith. He had come over to the house, you know, and run a couple songs with us. But 3 or 4 days later, I get a call from the business girl. She said, here's what we're going to do, man. He wants you to do the tour. And this is never, talk about a fastball, and I'm like, or a screwball. I'm going, well, I didn't see that one coming. She said,
I'm hooked.
We're going to give you this amount to pay the band every night. You can take 98% of it and pay them too. We don't care. This is what you have to work with. So I hired Chris McHugh, which was another mentor of mine, Chris Rodriguez. I had to have a guy that could sing above Keith and could play guitar. Jimmy and I were talking about the player, Jimmy Slows, when I was starting to put it together, and I said, Jimmy, we got to have a high singer. He said, yeah, who are you thinking? I said, I only know one guy, Chris Rodriguez. And he said, hang up and call him right now. So I did. But here's the funny thing.
He didn't negotiate, did he?
No, he didn't have to. I did for him.
True.
So I hung up the phone. I called Chris Rodriguez. At this point, the band has not been fired. So I can't tell anybody who this is for. So I get Chris on the phone and say, hey, Raj, man, what you got going on this fall? This is probably June. You know, it's a fall tour. He said, man, I don't have anything right now. I said, how do you feel about singing some super high parts and playing some fun guitar? I said, in fall. He said, I'm intrigued. I said, well, here's the caveat. I can't tell you who it is, but you're going to be singing high and playing some really fun guitar stuff. And he said, how's Keith Urban doing these days? I was like, pretty good. Pretty good. So he knew immediately.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, but they gave me a lump sum to pay the band, and I had to make it work.
And was it reasonable compared to the first thing you asked for?
Yeah, it was reasonable. I just had to chop it up.
He kept 98% of it. That's how it was reasonable.
These guys $100 a show. No, but the point is like I got Chris McHugh.
Yeah.
Who's, God, he's
stellar.
He's a giant, you know. And so I had to make sure he was compensated where he would do it.
Yeah.
Because Keith really wanted him, you know. And Chris Rodriguez, again, he's played with Amy Grant and Kenny Loggins and all these high-dollar people. Yeah, exactly. So I got to make sure they're compensated, you know. So I will say this. Keith opted to keep his keyboard player. We were going for a complete sweep.
Okay.
Right? And he wanted to keep his keyboard player. Steve King, sweetest guy on the planet. Really good player. Solid dude, too. He and I wound up being tight out there. But Keith said, you know, I started looking for a keyboard player. And he's like, let's keep Steve. You know, let's keep Steve. And I said, great. I'm good with that. Because he respected Steve because Steve was a super Christian guy. And he would witness to Keith out there on the road. He said, there's something about this guy I just love. Yeah. Well, let's keep him. And so he said, and by the way, I know what they're doing financially for you about the lump sum. Let's add to that to bring Steve up.
Yeah.
I was like, great, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
it's a good story.
It wound up being super cohesive and really fun to do.
I'm glad I asked that. That's an awesome story, man.
That's a great story.
But it was intense, you know. It's like
was that like
a lot of pressure.
Golden Road years?
It was right after that.
Okay.
So the record that was out was called Be Here.
Okay.
Nice.
And the tour was called Be Here.
Yeah.
I think. Right?
Yeah. It was the Be Here tour.
There's a great DVD of that, man. And
yeah,
I got to tell you.
Wasn't it at Gwinnett?
What?
I think it was at Gwinnett Arena.
No, it was the Wiltern in L.A.
Oh, okay.
Because we shot 2 nights there.
Okay.
And I still have kids today come up, like 20-somethings, come up to me and go, or I guess they'd have to be older than that, but because it was 2004 when all that happened. But they loved that. Sinclair.
Yeah.
So you love that DVD. That's the one, you know. And
that's cool.
I got to take credit because I remember being on the bus with Keith, and I said, dude, this is the band you wanted. We should shoot this. We should shoot it sometime. And he was like, yeah, mate. And it wasn't long after that. It was like, we're going to shoot the Wiltern. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Had it not been for Mark Hill, that may not have existed.
I'm
and
great.
all those kids would not have recognized you.
I'm great.